Hey tennis fans, I'm Grace Carter. Welcome to your Tennis Now news update. A fantastic Friday launches U.S. Open Championship weekend. Rain postponed the women's semifinals to Friday before the men's Final Four is played. And oh my, what a heartbreaker. Serena Williams going down to Roberta Vinci, a player who has never been this far at a Grand Slam. Serena was only 2 wins away from completing the calendar Grand Slam, capturing her 22nd Grand Slam title and equaling Steffi Graf. She won the first set 6-2, and then it looked like the nerves set in, and Vinci captured the next 2 sets 6-4, 6-4. And if you watched, you know it was the touch that made the difference. Vinci is a seasoned doubles player with a lot of net experience and a lot of majors under her belt, and she kept coming in, and Serena just wasn't moving well enough to defend. So now we are poised for an all-Italian women's final at the U.S. Open because another upset happened earlier in the day with number 2 seed Simona Halep going down to Italy's Flavia Penneta. And in that upset, number 2 seed Simona fell 6-1, 6-3. A big win for Flavia, who's going to be playing in her very first U.S. Open final. And to relax a little bit, she's been spending her spare time in the city with her boyfriend, Fabio Fognini, who, by the way, upset Rafa Nadal in a first-week thriller. This is the first time in Open era history that 2 Italian women have reached the Final Four at a Grand Slam. Now they're in the finals. At age 32, Roberta Vinci is the oldest woman in the Open era to reach her very first major semifinal. And it's worth mentioning that this is only the 3rd time in the Open era that 3 of the 4 semifinalists at a Grand Slam are in their 30s. Very cool. Over on the men's side, streaks are colliding in the semis. Reigning champion Marin Cilic carries a 12-match winning streak at the U.S. Open, but a 13-match losing streak to his opponent, Novak Djokovic. Nole, meanwhile, making his 9th straight semifinal appearance in New York and playing in his 21st semifinal in his last 22 Grand Slam appearances. The world number 1 has reached the U.S. Open final 5 times, winning it only once, so he will be very motivated. And the all-Swiss semifinal between buddies Roger Federer and Stan Wawrinka in their 20th meeting. Stan won the most recent match in the French Open quarterfinals en route to the title there. But I gotta tell you, Roger's game has been better on this surface. He is 11-0 lifetime against Stan on hard court and also leads in the practical joke department, it seems. Photobombing Stan's interview. Okay, so this is the first time since 1995 that 4 Grand Slam champions are in the semis at the U.S. Open. Back then it was Pete Sampras, Jim Courier, Andre Agassi, and Boris Becker. Andre Agassi, by the way, had predicted a Djokovic versus Federer final. In fact, he says if Roger plays the way he did in Cincinnati when he beat Djokovic, Federer will likely claim his 18th major title. We shall see. Okay, let's talk about what happened to former U.S. Open quarterfinalist James Blake. He's a local hero of sorts. Born in Yonkers, New York, grew up playing at the Harlem Junior Tennis Center, went to high school in Fairfield, Connecticut, and attended Harvard. Well, James has found himself at the center of a controversy after he was mistreated by a police officer. In a case of mistaken identity, Blake was tackled, handcuffed, and held by a New York City police officer in front of the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan while Blake was texting someone waiting for a ride to the U.S. Open. Well, acting on a tip, a plainclothes officer who didn't identify himself charged Blake, body slammed him, and then handcuffed him for 15 minutes, mistaking Blake for a criminal. Blake says he asked the 5 cops that were surrounding him to check his pocket for his U.S. Open credentials so that they could see his photo ID. But he was held there until a check of his driver's license verified his identity.
And I had my credential for the U.S. Open in my back pocket. I said, please check that. You can tell that I'm a former player. It's a Final 8 badge. It means I did pretty well at the U.S. Open. I'd like to clear my name and I told him that, and he wasn't having it. He said, okay, we'll see. We're running your license. We'll figure it out. I said, you're running my license. The worst you're going to find is a speeding ticket.
Well, as you can imagine, that story was front page news in the New York City tabloids. So it seems the guy who tackled Blake has been put on desk duty. And it was reported by the New York public radio station that the officer involved was named in 5 civilian complaints back in 2013. New York City Police Commissioner William Bratton has issued an apology, saying both he and the New York City mayor will meet with Blake to talk about this incident. So we're going to keep an eye on this story and we'll keep you posted. Boy, Roger Federer sure has put on a show on his way to the semifinals, not dropping a single set. That has been a lot of fun for most of us to watch. Well, Roger had a great time watching the show put on by Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake. So funny. This is what the guys did during a changeover in Roger's quarterfinal match. That's our news for now. Enjoy the finals, everybody. I'm Grace Carter. We'll see you here next time on Tennis Now.